Need a date Friday night? There's an app for that. Dating apps are the new evolution of online dating. And why not? A Pew Research study says more than 3/4 of single people in the U.S. have tried online dating, and 1/3 of married couples met online. Apps like Tinder, Plenty of Fish, and dating websites like eHarmony have helped raise the popularity of online dating. On Point reporter Adam Schubes gave Tinder a try.
I can pretty much pick who I want to talk to and hopefully get a chance for them to like me back, and so we can start a conversation.
After finding a compatible match, he says starting a conversation can be a challenge.
It's just your basic, hey, how's it going? What's up? That gets kind of boring after a while, so I've asked one girl, what makes you a great person? Thinking that should be, hey, I'm describing herself and I can get to know you a little bit. No, she goes, really? Are you gonna really ask me that? I haven't had much luck. To be honest, I can't find a date.
Earlier this week, I sat down with Newsy, an online dater. We talked about how she uses online dating apps.
It's kind of experimental to kind of see how these things work, what seems to be working, what doesn't. In my head, I'm like, okay, this is like practice. Like going out on dates through online dating is just like practice. Like there's an online way and then there's a real way to meet people. And so together, I lump them together as they're all kind of the same to me. I don't have a preference one or the other.
Oh, okay.
Because I feel like maybe more people are serious, or I haven't yet met people from OkCupid in person, but from Match I have more stories because I maybe did it for a longer time. I've never really met somebody that I've actually dated fully on Match or OkCupid or any of them actually, but I have one really, really good friend now. I think guys really ultimately understand it's a numbers game, so they're willing to kind of like just meet and meet and meet and meet and meet until they meet the right person, whereas with girls, they see it as a lot of effort doing online dating. Like, you know, you have to go through all these profiles and you have to find the right person and then you like have to meet them, and it's a lot of investment for not as much return. Because I think meeting somebody at a bar, meeting somebody at a Starbucks is just it's so organic. Like if you're just kind of like, you know, in line and you hit up a conversation with somebody and like you have like a little quick banter and, you know, that kind of just forms. But online, I feel like, honestly, you can have a little bit of banter while you're messaging somebody up until you meet them, and then there's just no chemistry.
76% of single Americans use online dating apps and websites to connect. On Point's Alex Milojkovich has more insight on the story. Alex?
Thank you, Evan. And joining me today are marriage and family therapist Allison Cohen, Dr. Luciana Lagana of the CSUN Psychology Department, and cyber dating expert Julie Spira. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
How are online dating apps changing human contact when it comes to finding a partner?
Well, it's instant gratification. You know, in the real world, we have to interact, we have to engage, and you can go online and find out stats, hobbies, important information instantly. So it really does sort of change the face in that way.
And do you have anything to add, of course?
Well, I would say that by going online versus going to a bar or say to a party, it's different because you don't really have to reveal much about yourself. You don't have to give off any vibe. Let's say you're very nervous, you can pretend that you're very cool. So deception is involved as well. But generally speaking, let's say that you're very, very shy, don't want to go to a public place. That is a place to start. Now, you can get in trouble, but that's a different story. I'm sure we'll talk more about it.
And Julie?
I mean, online dating is so efficient. It's available 24 hours a day, and it allows you to actually cast a very, very wide net and meet a lot of people much faster than if you're asking your friends to set you up.
And next question, Dr. Luciana. Why are young adults preferring to communicate through messages and instant messaging? Why is that the norm for communication these days?
I like your question because you're saying, why do they prefer it? We don't know, do they really prefer it, or is that the only way to go? Because, you know, research is showing that when you want to date, you actually don't find a lot of people on college campuses who are dating. It's actually a double ratio. If you go on 10 hookups, you only go on 5 dates. So just the fact that you would like to interact in person, but the culture is, you know, hook up, be online. So even if you have the intention, the motivation to date in person, it's kind of hard to find the people. People are out there, but it's just no longer the norm.
And I was going to add to that because it seems as if people don't even like to talk on the phone as much anymore. Even cell phone calls are just not as popular. Why instant messaging? Is it just because it's so easy to talk to anybody without having to actually be with somebody? Or, I mean, why?
From a psychological perspective, you can really let your guard down. If somebody doesn't reply to an email or an instant message, the sense of rejection is far less. You know, if you meet in person and somebody says, I'm sorry, I'm not interested, it weighs really, really heavily on you. So from that perspective, it's sort of easier to interact.
I look at texting as, I'll say it, as digital foreplay. And I think it's really important in the beginning of every relationship because it's that fun and flirty time when you're getting to know someone. And if you've had a really great date with someone and you go home and there's a text message saying, I had a great time, love to see you again, you go to sleep feeling really great about it. And then if you wake up in the morning, the same thing. If there's a good morning, thinking of you, little text message, it can really put a smile on your face and help your relationship develop a little bit more.
And my next question goes to you as well. Is it just because the internet is becoming such a prominent, I mean, well, now it's here. Every day people use the internet how many hours a day? But is that why people are dating online now more than, let's say, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, just because internet's a bigger part of our lives every day?
There are several reasons why online dating is much more popular now. One, of course, it is more available, and we're looking at high-speed internet and, of course, mobile dating apps, which mobile dating apps really didn't start coming to the marketplace until the iPhone really started to catch on. We've got Tinder right now is the hottest mobile dating app, and people of all ages are swiping left and swiping right.
And this follows up my next question. Both of you can chime in if you know. What stage in life do you see the most people looking for online dating? As in young adults, older adults, people who have been divorced? I mean, where are the most people looking for online to find dates?
That's a really terrific question. It used to be where online dating was just for people that were a little socially challenged, and it was easier to be able to communicate from behind a keyboard rather than go up to somebody, a girl that you might be interested in, say hello to. But now what we're seeing, everybody, especially because of Facebook being so multi-generational, you're seeing grandparents that are going on dating sites when they lose their spouse or to divorce, and you're also seeing college students that are flocking to the mobile dating apps because, let's face it, if your mobile phone was waterproof, it would be in the shower with you.
And concerning Tinder statistics, it's primarily used by people who are younger than 20 and 24, 20 to 24, say like 18 to 20. Those are the real groups. And then it's like 20, 25% up to 32 years of age. But I was actually reading an article by the Tinder's founders, and they are thinking, well, you know what? We did not create this as a hookup, type of a tool. We want people to connect with people who have never met them, but are interested in meeting them. So, I mean, there are different groups that might be interested. They were even saying, and also couples. Couples could use this to find tennis partners. So, I mean, the uses depend on the user. Like, everybody's going to be different. We could get 90 years old, widows or widowers who are actually looking for love and can find something there.
Luciana's comments really reflect the experiences in my practice. People in their early 20s are more inclined to use something like a Tinder. As we get into late 20s, early 30s, 40s and on, people are tending to go on to the actual sites, the eHarmonies, the OkCupids, things like that, to really try to find a mate. But I found that clients in their early 20s are very opposed to things like that. I don't need to meet somebody that way. But hookups and Tinder have become very popular for that set.
Been almost hand in hand. And people, when you think online profiles, you often associate with, okay, since you haven't met the person in person, they might create a persona that's not really them. How often is that the case with online daters?
More often than not. I mean, it's sad to say. I really, really wish there was truth in advertising. But what we're seeing is the men are insecure. You're a nice tall guy, but the guys that aren't tall, they will actually add 2 to 3 inches to their height. And women are sadly feeling insecure that they're not going to fit into a search. And I say truth in advertising. Authenticity is what's going to make you shine and be successful with online dating, and that your shelf life really doesn't expire. So I please urge everyone, be honest about your age.
Another one is research is showing that women tend to lie about their weight, and men lie about other things. For example, financial means, having a job, and all sorts of different things. So it could be gender related, what people lie about.
I've noticed that divorce status is also something that people misrepresent. If they know that I'm divorced, perhaps they won't want to go out with me. So there's a lot of deception, unfortunately.
That's I feel like that's one of the big issues that comes with online dating. And so for Allison and Luciana, what should people look for when they're looking for potential matches on their profiles? I mean, what are some of the red flags that you might want to avoid that just don't sound real? I mean, Julie, you can answer as well if you have anything to input on this, but what are some of the red flags that you should avoid?
Sure. When you go onto a profile and you see that somebody has written very little, run. Somebody that's looking for a real relationship puts in the time. They want to show you who they are. They want to teach you something about their experiences, what they're looking for, and very little information signals that they're not really serious about a relationship. So that's one of the biggest ones.
I will also say substance abuse. If they're saying, oh, I go out there, I party until 3 a.m., you can find me there, and I'm loaded, and you don't want to associate with a person like that, stay away. And also, my concern as a psychologist is also the health concern. Like you're going out there, if you're doing if you're hooking up, what's going on? Unfortunately, research again. I'm always citing research here because research is not very encouraging in the findings. They're showing actually that only 50% of people who hook up are using condoms. That really concerns me. That really concerns me.
Absolutely.
I would have to say that, it's all about the picture and it's all about the pictures. And it's really important to take good photos and photos that are realistic, because people are going to jump over to Facebook and see if your Facebook photo looks similar to your online dating photo to see, like, in other words, don't post your prom shots, please. And so the photos are really telling, because if somebody's showing all these party photos, like you said, or there's a guy and he's got a harem of girls around him on each side, it's a real turnoff to a woman. They're thinking, who is he sleeping with? They're really not sure. Or if somebody's wearing sunglasses, that's a sign that they might be hiding something. So I tell men and women, no shades. Just show your beautiful eyes and try and be as authentic as you can online, so when you meet somebody offline, you have a good experience.
And that's funny, because that's one of the things that when we were researching this topic, we would look at profiles, and every time there would be a guy and a girl in the picture, we would say, what's the point? I mean, I thought you were looking to meet someone. Right. Why would you have a picture with a girl?
It's the instant associations that you make that you have to be really careful of.
And that's something you can't really explain right away. But now that society is moving towards online dating being the norm, are people feeling, well, you kind of touched up on this, are people not meeting in person because they are starting to feel more self-conscious, and a lot of people have a fear of being rejected? Is that why people are going towards online dating? Luciana, we can start with you.
Well, for sure. Rejection is a big issue, because we know that when you reject it, it impacts brain centers close to addiction. So what could happen, one of the mechanisms that could kick in, is that you get rejected in person or online, or when you hook up, or you get dumped, like, competition is so high, you just don't make it. What can happen? You can get hooked on the person. You can get kind of like really obsessed with this person, and you devalue yourself and you idolize that person. And, depression and other psychopathology could come after that. So that's something to think about.
Is that just for online dating?
I would say just in general with rejections, but because online dating is so fast, like you're saying, you get all these rejections, and let's say that you go and go on a first date, you're really all worked up, great profile, oh, we match so well, and then boom, the guy goes, because it's usually, the literature is saying women suffer the most with this. I mean, not to be, stereotypical here, but there are a lot of exceptions. But generally speaking, some women feel, oh my goodness, I got rejected. This guy is great, I'm not good enough. Oh my goodness, I'm too fat, I'm too skinny, and all sorts of stuff. And so this could create problems. This is one of the
I find that to be really sad, because there are so many people out there, and there are 40 million singles in the United States that are dating online. And I just want to think, with it being such a huge digital playground, that if somebody gets rejected, we know there's another email coming into their inbox. You know, you have to sort of have a little bit tougher skin. You're not getting rejected in public. You're being rejected by somebody from behind a computer screen. Just, you know, sort of take it with a digital grain of salt and try and find someone else that you might be more compatible with.
But there is that tendency to personalize, and I think that becomes the issue. You know, if they have not responded to my email, it's because there's something fundamentally wrong with me, as opposed to them possibly dating somebody else, or simply you being a lovely person, but just not the person they're looking for. So that aspect really does impact it. And I think also, you know, we live in a busy society. We have jobs, we have responsibilities, we have commitments. You go online, you have all of these options that you would never encounter in your real world. Your real world is only so small. You know the people your friends know, and this way you can go online and have really a tremendous amount of options that you wouldn't have day to day.
People think I'm trash, but they're wrong. Today I'm just an aluminum can, but one day I could be a stadium.
Julie, these newer apps like Tinder, OkCupid, Plenty of Fish, they just seem like they have a different feel from already established sites like eHarmony and Match. So are these newer ones like Tinder, are they specifically targeted for younger adults as opposed to people finding life partners?
Well, let's talk a bit about Tinder. Yeah, it had a reputation of being a hookup site for people in their 20s. Just like online dating had a reputation 10, 15 years ago of being a site, something that people did when, you know, they couldn't find a date on their own, I think that people are going to embrace Tinder, and you're going to find more and more relationships. I know of several people just in the last week that are Tinder exclusive now. They met on Tinder and they have a real relationship. And when I spoke with the two of the co-founders of Tinder, they don't even call themselves a dating app. They consider themselves a social discovery app, which means you're out there meeting friends with people that have similar interests. You're logging in through Facebook so you can see if you have likes in common, and you can see if you have friends in common. So it's becoming, so that's Tinder, and that's mobile only. And then if we look at OkCupid and Plenty of Fish, they were traditional, free, web-based dating sites. And they have their own computer algorithms and their little sexy sauce going on. But they now have mobile versions of OkCupid has OkLocals if you want to meet somebody close by, and Plenty of Fish has a very successful mobile dating app. And Marcus from Plenty of Fish tells me that they have, you know, a great majority of people now are signing on through their mobile app rather than going home to their desktop, because you get a push notification, and that cute guy that had a crush on you just sent you an email. Well, why go home? Let's look at it now.
Yeah.
It's back to the instant gratification.
And I know a lot of those apps are using location services, so
Right.
it lets you know where other people are. I mean, if he's 10 minutes away, why go home? I understand that. And Allison, you've done couples counseling before. Have you noticed a difference, any behavioral differences in couples that met through online dating as opposed to meeting traditionally, like at a bar or school?
Sure. There tends to be a sense that we will certainly be compatible because we've been matched together online. You like tennis, I like tennis, you know, and the expectation just sort of comes down the line, and it's not necessarily accurate. You know, we were initially speaking about percentages of compatibility on certain websites. They don't always match up. Just because you're 97% compatible on a profile doesn't mean you match up in life.
Luciana, do you have anything to add to that?
Well, I was just thinking, like, you were saying that Tinder is not for hookups, but unfortunately a lot of people are still considering as something that
No, Tinder, there are a lot of people hooking up on Tinder.
Yes.
What I'm saying is it was originally embraced by the college campuses, and Tinder was known as sort of the hookup app. And of course, the guys from Tinder don't want to be considered a hookup app. So little by little, people are jumping on the Tinder bandwagon, but they are viewing the profiles on Tinder much differently than those that just go, oh, pretty face, swipe right. Oh, don't like her, swipe left. They're taking the time and pushing the little I button to get to information on their profile to see if they have things in common. I was just at a broadcasting conference in Las Vegas, and believe it or not, somebody interviewed on my show said they're using Tinder during the NAB in Las Vegas for business networking. I said, what do you mean? Tinder is nothing like LinkedIn. But she basically hashtagged on Tinder that she was going to be at this broadcasting conference in Las Vegas, and if anybody would like to get together and meet, she'd like to meet them. And it was purely for business networking, and I thought, that was a first. But I guarantee months down the road, more people are going to be using Tinder because it's the flavor of the year.
Okay. The reason I like what she's saying is encouraging, because I was looking up some of the research about what happens when women hook up, and just for casual sex. And the research, again, is not very positive. The results are not very good.
Well, we bond. Women bond when you have sex,
Exactly.
and it's a problem. But to answer your other question, because I went around the circle a little bit, as far as the speed, for online dating, if somebody has met someone online, from the day they've had their first date to the day they get married, statistically the research is showing us that it's 17.5 months. That's the courtship. If someone met offline, if we met outside, IRL, outside or friends or at a party, the typical courtship is over 30 months. So yes, online dating does speed everything up. Does that mean it's going to be a better relationship or not? I think that's yet to be seen.
I'm sure it depends on the couples as well. You can't just lump everybody together who uses online dating. And that kind of what you guys were just talking about leads me into my next question. You know the people that founded Tinder.
Right.
And they have to know that that's the name, that's what people thought of when they associated with Tinder as casual sex, one night flings. I mean, is that an issue that they're trying to solve? They're trying to get people off the app that are just using it for that? Or is that like, okay, I guess you can use it too?
As a social discovery app, it's go on there and find what you're looking for. So I think it's a question, if you want to hook up, you can hook up. If you're looking for a serious relationship, make sure you have those keywords in your profile. And those keywords include long-term relationship, serious, marriage. Because if some guy's looking for a booty call and he sees you're looking for marriage, he's going to swipe left and find someone else. So I think the success for dating, whether it's mobile or online, or even when you meet someone out in person, is just be genuine and authentic and representing what you're looking for, so you don't bond to the wrong person and waste months and months of your time.
Definitely. And are there a lot of issues with, I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be females. One would assume that would be females that complain about getting tricked into thinking the person wants a long-term relationship when all they want is sex for one night. I mean, is that one of the big issues that comes with online dating? Are there a lot of complaints for that?
There are complaints, but at the end of the day, women control sex. And so the most important thing you can do is control your body and have the ability to say yes or no. And if you're really not looking to hook up, then don't meet for drinks at 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. Don't go back to someone's house or someone's dorm room, because you're only going to be setting yourself up for a really uncomfortable situation after a few drinks when it's time to say goodnight.
And to piggyback on that, this is totally true what you said. Again, I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but there is research showing that if there is a hookup, the woman is a little loaded, a little high, alcohol, drugs, whatever she's doing. And some women are using alcohol and drugs just to get to the location of the hookup because they need that strength. Unfortunately, there are also reports of unwanted vaginal penetration. So that is something that is happening with the hookup by certain women. They are reporting this, not to mention after the hookup. Usually women feel devalued. Some women, quite a few, they feel guilty. Over 50% in a study of women after a hookup feels guilty, dirty, disgusted, sad. And also, I remember reading something like the men devalued the woman while they were hooking up. So the woman is going to associate sex and sexual intimacy with being devalued. And that's certainly not positive for mental health and well-being.
And Allison, this next question is for you. Well, you guys can chime in once she thinks of a good answer. I know until recently, people used to make up stories about if they met online, they usually didn't want to say, this is how we met online. Have you noticed that people are getting more comfortable with saying, yeah, we met on this app, we met on OkCupid? I mean, do you see that?
Absolutely. I mean, these days it's very difficult to find happiness, and if you find it, there's a pride in that. There's a glee in that. We met online. It's not the sexiest story you've ever heard, but anytime you can find that partner, that compatibility, it's something to celebrate. So people are really sort of embracing that these days.
And do you see?
I do
people that you
too.
deal
I
with?
mean, there was definitely a stigma. I think the stigma has been dissipating in the last 3 years, probably, most recently. And I think I agree with Allison. If you have a happy story to share it with your single friends. And if you met them on Match.com, that's a great story because maybe somebody's a little nervous and they think that they're only going to find somebody that wants to hook up. But if you're getting ready to walk down the aisle with somebody that you met on Match.com, let your friends know. Don't be embarrassed about it. Be excited about it. Look at these TV commercials and these happy couples. They're real people. They're not actors and actresses.
Mm-hmm. And the same for eHarmony, because I personally have friends and colleagues and graduate students who have married through eHarmony. And they believe in the mathematical algorithm and all these formulas of the psychologists who's behind it. So, I mean, there are a lot of sites that people can try, to match their level of, like if you're a little bit shy and you want to take a longer time. I understand eHarmony is a little bit of a slower process for getting together, not hooking up.
And that makes sense to me because online dating I feel recently has just boomed. It's gotten a lot bigger than it has been in the last 5 years. So of course people are going to get more comfortable with saying it. That's how Tinder gets its reputation that it's a good or not so good app depending on who you talk to. And my last question for all three of you is, I think I know where you stand on this one, but do you feel that online dating will eventually completely replace traditional meeting people at the bar, meeting people at school? I'll start with you.
I don't think online dating will replace meeting people traditionally because given the opportunity to say, how would you like to meet the man you're going to marry? The first response will be, I'd like to meet them from a friend or someone I know, or a family member, or at church, or at school. No one is going to say, I want to go online and I'm going to sign up for a 1-year membership and I can't wait to date all these great guys until I find the one I'm going to marry. So basically, if you're really looking for a relationship, you have to do both. You need to accept every invitation offline. You need to go to parties. You need to, put a smile on your face and put your lipstick on and get out there. And you also need to have an online dating strategy. And you need to have a profile on more than one dating site. And be diligent about it, just like you would if you were looking at a job. And if you're going to be looking for a job and you have 3 bad job interviews, you don't say, I'm not going on another job interview if you're out of work and you need to pay your bills. So if you've had 3 bad dates, understand it's a numbers game and get back out there and go on more dates, because the more dates you go on, the better dater you become.
And really quickly, if you two have something else to add to that.
I will add that we also need to try to help, especially adolescents and young adults, learn intimacy skills, like different types of intimacy, cognitive intimacy, emotional intimacy, not just sexual intimacy. And if you want to date, like you were saying, and get a good relationship, also have skills on how to start a relationship, maintain it, and end a relationship, how to deal with breakup. So all these skills should come in maybe through teachers, sports coaches, psychotherapists,
And Allison, do you have anything to add?
Online will never completely overtake, the face-to-face interaction. The bit of stigma that's left, I think, will lessen over time. But there is something really nice about meeting someone face-to-face and knowing that you can communicate, you can interact. So there will always be that aspect, but online will continue to grow and grow.
Thank you, guys. That's all the time we have today. I really appreciate you all joining me. And Evan, back to you.
Aren't you curious to find out how you'll meet the one? To learn more, visit our website at CSUNTVnews.com and follow us on Facebook and Twitter at CSUN On Point. For all of us here, I'm Evan Robinson. Thanks for watching.